always short-term benefits and long-term benefits of using fertilizers both should be kept in mind. Short-term benefits will be increasing the yield, but what will be the long-term benefits? Definitely the crop production will be increased, but the soil fertility will decrease. It will lead to water pollution. It will damage the crop sometimes if there is excessive use. Then it will decrease the soil fertility, and sometimes it may kill the useful microorganisms for the plant. So this is about fertilizers. And the main nutrients fertilizers supplied to the soil are, the main nutrients which fertilizers supplied to the soil are nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So remember, fertilizers are always chemical substances. They are not organic. They are mainly nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Separate fertilizers are available for separate requirements of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Then fertilizers have more disadvantages. They are expensive. Then they increase the water pollution. Then they increase the soil fertility. So soil fertility will be decreased if there is more use of fertilizer. So always keep in mind the benefits of short term and long term and use the fertilizers. Then one more thing is organic farming. Organic farming also affects the production management. How? Input of organic manures. In organic farming, no pesticides, no herbicides, no weedicides will be used. Only organic manure will be used. Organic manure is what? Stock, livestock of excreta. What is there in organic manure? Cow dung, cow urine, dried leaves, dried grass, everything will be there. Also along with this organic matter, it also uses bio agents, that is algae, blue-green algae. Culture of this algae will be used. And other than this, biopesticides will be used, which will be free of chemicals. Then all these methods are employed. Along with this, intercropping or mixed cropping is followed in organic farming. What is mixed cropping? In mixed cropping, in a crop, two plants will be grown alternately. Suppose one line you are growing wheat, the next line will be groundnut. In this way, two different types of plants will be grown and the nutrient requirement for both the plants will be different. The level of nutrients required for both the plants will be different. So that is the advantage of growing mixed cropping. One crop will require more nutrients and the second crop will require less nutrients. Thereby, there will be nutrient balance maintained in the field. So that is the advantage of mixed cropping. And then one more thing in mixed cropping is taking the example of wheat and sunflower. So wheat will require more water, sunflower will require less water, and sunflower will require less sunlight, wheat will require more sunlight. So alternately we can grow two mixed crops. There will be nutrient balance also. In the soil, the nutrient balance will be maintained. And what is the advantage of growing intercropping? Suppose first 6 months you are growing one crop, then next 6 months you have to grow other crop, because the micronutrients or macronutrients in the soil needs to be replenished. So first 6 months if you grow one crop and the next 6 months if you grow another crop, there will be nutrient balance in the soil. The soil will have the balance. So that is the advantage of mixed cropping or intercropping. So the next method in crop production management is irrigation. Irrigation is nothing but supply of water. You know, supply of water is very much important for the growth of crops, right? If there is no supply of water, there will be crop failure. The crops will eventually dry. The crops will eventually dry. So agriculture is rain-fed. So what do you understand by agriculture is rain-fed? That means it depends on the amount of rainfall or the monsoon of the year. Sometimes many crops depend on only rainfall or monsoons for their growth because they live in low water supply area or more summer area. So that's why if there is drought, if there is no rainfall, then there may be crop failure. Or suppose there is excessive rainfall, cyclones or floods, then also there will be crop damage. So that is why agriculture is rain-fed. Then crops get water at right stages. It is necessary that crops get water at right stages. Right stages means at the stages of their development. So if they get water at the right stages, then definitely the yield of the crop will be increased. So what are the different kinds of irrigation systems? There are 4 kinds of irrigation systems: wells, canals, river lift systems and tanks. So wells, you know, there are of 2 types: dug wells and tube wells. Dug wells are dug by hand, whereas tube wells, in tube wells the water is carried with the help of pumps, carried up by the help of pumps and then supplied to the plants. So this is dug wells and tube wells. It works with the help of pumps and electricity. Then canals. Canals are very elaborate and extensive system because from the rivers canals will come, and from the canals again water will be supplied to the different crops and fields. So this is one method which is elaborate and very extensive method. Then river lift system. Suppose in areas where there is no rainfall, the soil is very, suppose in river lift systems, the soil is very light soil. Light soil means no much water holding capacity and the area is more prone to drought, no proper tube wells, no proper supply of water. In such areas, water is directly lifted from the rivers with the help of electric pumps. That is called river lift system. In light soil areas where there is drought, no rainfall, water is lifted from the rivers for irrigation purpose. That is river lift system. Moving on to tanks. Tanks are nothing but everybody has the small storage system of tanks for water. Then for saving of water nowadays we have many systems. Rainwater harvesting, that means we dig small pits near our houses for the rainwater to be grounded, which will be again used in future purpose. Then they have watershed management, that means the roof of their houses will have a slight slope. So whenever there is rainfall they will collect that water. Then they are building check dams. So for the generally all the river waters go and mix into the sea. So before they go and mix into the sea, there are check dams being built for controlling the water and supplying to the fields. So this is about irrigation. Moving on to the next production management system, that is cropping pattern. That means how the crops, plants will be plowed and how they will be developed. So first method is mixed cropping. Mixed cropping means growing two crops simultaneously on same piece of land. That means suppose there is 1 acre of land. Half acre you will be growing wheat and half acre you will be growing gram. That is, it is mixed cropping. That means half totally it will be one crop, the remaining half will be one crop. So growing two crops simultaneously on the same pattern piece of land is mixed cropping. That is, suppose in an acre of land, half acre will be wheat, half acre will be gram. Otherwise it can also be wheat or mustard. Then what is the advantage? There will be no failure of the crops. Proper nutrient balance will be maintained. Then next method is intercropping. Intercropping is growing two or more crops simultaneously on a same field in a definite pattern. That means in a field only one line will be soyabean, the next line will be maize. In mixed cropping, totally half will be wheat and half will be mustard. In intercropping, if one line is soyabean plant, the next line will be maize plant, because in this way one plant will require less water, one plant will require more water. There will be nutrient balance in the field. So this is intercropping. Then you have crop rotation. That means in a year, suppose first 3 months you have grow one crop, next 3 months you will grow another crop, next 3 months you will grow another crop. Government has decided some definite patterns. Government has regulated some patterns and given to the farmers that these crops can be grown as crop rotation crops. So these crop rotation depends on availability of moisture, that means water, irrigation system, then irrigation facilities, then choice of the crop which can be grown as crop rotation. What are the advantages of crop rotation? 2 or 3 crops will be grown in a 1 year, thereby the income of the farmer will be increased and thereby the nutrient balance in the soil will be maintained. So this is about crop rotation. After crop variety management and crop production management, we are moving on to crop protection management. In crop protection, we have to protect the plants against weeds, insect pests and some diseases. So what are weeds? Weeds are nothing but unwanted plants. So what are the examples of some weeds? Xanthium and Parthenium. Sometimes they come with the crops and they compete for food, space, light and nutrients. They take up the nutrients of the growing crop. So it is necessary that we remove the weeds. How do we remove the weeds? Mechanically we can remove the weeds with hand, or there are also machines available for removal of weeds. Then there are herbicide sprays available, then weedicide sprays available for removal of the weeds. But sometimes when you spray these weedicide sprays, it may affect the plants and the animals in that crop. Then moving on to the insect pests. So how do these insect pests affect the plants? They cut the root, stem and leaf. Suppose if there is any insect attack to the plant, what happens? It cuts the roots, stems or leaves, or it may suck the cell sap, the liquid content of the plant, or it may bore into the stem and fruits. The insects will go into the stem and fruits. Sometimes if we buy guava outside, when we cut and try to eat the guava, we find insects inside. That will be the pest or insect attack of the plant. So what are those? Bacteria, fungi and viruses are the pests that attack the plants. So So how can we prevent these weeds and pests? We can do intercropping method, we can do mixed cropping, then we can do something called summer plowing. Summer plowing is nothing but plowing the field very deep during the summer seasons. In summers, the fields are plowed very deep so that the crops or the weeds or insects do not attack them when the field is sowed. So moving on to the next process, that is moving on to the next management process, that is storage of grains. Now all the crops have grown, they have harvested. Now how can we store them and how can we protect them from insects or rodents? So two factors come into account in storage of grains. Those are biotic factors and abiotic factors. The biotic factors are insects, rodents like rats, fungi, mites and bacteria. So there may be sometimes fungal attack, or some rats may attack the grains when they are stored. Grains are stored in silos or granaries. Then what are the abiotic factors that come into account? Inappropriate moisture. Suppose if there is lot of moisture, then thereby the grains will get rotten. They cannot be ready for germination. If there is no proper temperature and there is no place for storage, thereby the grains will get damaged. So all these factors play an important role in storage of grains. Then if these factors are not maintained properly, what happens? There will be degradation in the quality of the grains. Then there will be loss of weight. Then there will be poor germinability. Suppose if any farmer buys that grains and he goes and sows in the field, there will be no germinability at all. Then there will be discoloration of the produce. The crop which will be yielded will not have a good color. Then it will not have poor marketability. That means when we grow, if the grains do not maintain these biotic and abiotic factors properly, and if they get discolored, and if they lose weight, then what happens in market? They will not be sold at all. So that is poor marketability. So proper drying of the grains is important. Firstly, drying in the sunlight, then also drying in the shade, then fumigation, spraying with the help of chemicals. This is important to prevent the storage of grains.